I do believe that John did introduce his their mentor, their
Arnu.
yeah,
Yep,
and
Arnu, yeah.
yep,
Wait.
and kind of not to the group, but like specifically to the ship itself as well, the crew, and kind of integrate them.
We
I don't think I'm missing
explored
anything.
Dalian's artifact as well a little bit.
Oh yes, you were very amused by time. Well, it's all about time.
Ah, yeah.
Time soup, time artifacts. It's gonna find the time sea.
Well, it's time we set sail.
What's the time?
It's true.
Sailing time.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and take a beat. And sorry.
This counts as my bashing, right? Take a beating.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So we start on the next morning. The supplies have been put ashore. The crew have been sorted one way or another. Is there anything that anyone does in sort of the hours before the dawn or the night before that they especially wanted to before leaving Antigua?
Nope.
I feel good.
Might we be able to find this possum again just to shake its paw goodbye? I feel like we owe that possum a lot for like bringing us all together.
It's probably
Actually,
a bit of a distance, right?
One thing that we missed from the recap actually was Pascal's spell at the very end as we were setting off. That was the kind of
I don't remember the spell.
The climax of the spell, which was to kind of link everybody together on the ship.
make it
so
easier
that we
to
formed connections
integrate.
quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was like a week-long spell or something.
Yeah, just to smooth over, make us feel like more of a part of the crew than the outsiders. I was copying it over, but the game's paused, so I can't.
The game's not paused.
Oh, let me just reload real quick then.
Yeah. It is in your spell control. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, my game's just bugged real quick. Hold on.
Rip.
Yeah, that was a kind of a nice moment at the end of the last session where we were kind of setting off, and so yeah, there wasn't really anything I wanted to add before that. That was quite a nice moment at the end of the last session.
Okay,
and
sounds good.
Yeah, I think John is now John has now sort of woken up the next morning and having like kind of interacted with the artifacts and kind of experimented with them and kind of restored away the effects of Dalian's artifact. John's now has a first dot of Prime and understands that, but John isn't able to use Prime Sight or cast any Prime spells because John has used all of his mana. So I think John kind of wakes up in the morning and is realizing that, I'm feeling empty. I'm feeling low on juice here. I don't have the inspiration, the mojo. So I think that's the first thing on John's mind.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Hungry in a different way than normally. Okay.
Yeah.
If there's nothing from anyone else, the call to unmoor the ship is made. From the deck, you all watch as the ship is untethered. The sort of front sail is unfurled, picking up just a bit of the wind. It's a 3-mast ship. It's a sloop, I think. Wait, no, that's a 2-mast. Anyway, whatever. It's got multiple masts, and as the anchor is weighed, the ship slides out of the murky waters of the Antigua dock, and you find yourselves setting sail. Dalian, last time you had finished out the session by trying to convince Captain of La Rosa, Baltazar de la Vega, that an island or a small island to the southwest of Antigua might be a good first stop.
Mhm.
How do
Yeah.
you go about continuing to, convince him to make this diversion? He seemed amenable enough, but no plans had been set.
Uh, Dalian's not really very talkative or exceptionally good at talking and at convincing people, so he might want to use a bit of his magic.
Okay.
Hmm. Let me see what.
Using the M word, it's dangerous. I imagine every time you use the magic word, like John gets excited.
Oh, actually, he is quite good at
Yes,
persuading
100%.
people, just not being forceful about it. Uh, but nevertheless, he's just gonna go and try to basically tell Captain the benefit that, an English colony all new that nobody knows about.
Ah, yes.
Islands. They're settling. They probably have things that we could use, and and I just make him remind. Basically, I rehash the same speech I gave him last time.
Mhm.
I don't have a new talking point because I exhausted all of them. But
Mhm.
even the maroon community could help him. Maybe get some bit of magic, well, spiritual evidence, that sort of things.
Okay, yeah. And Captain de la Vega, Captain de la Vega is obviously sort of on board the ship. He's sort of near the aft of it, but he's not, actively steering the ship. Captains don't typically do the steering themselves. They leave that to the helmsman. But they, are the ones who often sort of decide on course and are on deck sometimes. So you explain to him sort of what supplies, mundane and mystical, can be obtained on this island. Do you call it what the newly arrived English settlers have christened it, Saint Hilary, or do you still refer to it as, it's the unnamed island that you know it as?
He's probably gonna mention that the English have called it Saint.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, he gives it a little bit of thought, and it's clear that he's given it thought since you mentioned it yesterday. Given that they, he tells you, that we had to, sort of condense, our resupply of the ship because of, the, shortened timetable, and there are actually, some things that they could use, that weren't available on Antigua, namely, an amount of citrus and tack and rope for nets that was in short supply because of the amount of other ships that had come to Antigua for the celebration of King George's coronation. So a resupply stop sounds just fine as they head along the trade winds towards the west.
Yeah, it's basically free real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Of sorts.
Okay. So as the course is set, the ship sets sail. It doesn't look like it'll be a particularly long journey. Maybe a day or two of sail before the island is reached. And what is everyone else doing aboard the ship during this time while it's at sail? Who's doing what, if anything?
Well, John is kind of John and Anu, I suppose, are stepping in as ship's carpenters and shipwrights and things, and looking after the whole. So, and Anu is a pretty fastidious sort, so is going to be, looking checking over the hull interior, inspecting things, and John is pretty well practiced at this as well, so is kind of helping him with that. And John is obviously still feeling that lack of inspiration, sort of thing, and is kind of going through the motions of just checking over the wood, making sure there's no mold infections, there's no leaks or anything like that. All pretty practice stuff, and his mind starts to sort of drift to well, now that the ship is in motion, this is when this is part of why they're looking it over, is this is when the hull is really being tested, and it's really being put to the test, and how as certain you can be when you have the ship at anchor and you have the ship at port. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's true, that it's going to be fine, and starts thinking about certainty and truth and the distance thereof, and how really kind of attacking something and tearing at something is its test, and is going to kind of follow that thought to his own kind of pattern, and how he treated it before, and his thinking about it as a whole being washed and lashed by a storm, and kind of there's a moment of sort of painful inspiration as he scours his pattern to get it to test the certainty and to get at some truth. So yeah, John is gonna take one from his strength, so he starts to feel a little bit weak, and down to strength 1 now, and gets 3 mana.
Okay. So John is doing this while he is sort of down there with Arnud looking over at the ship's hull. They're probably talking, and as they're doing close inspection, probably a lot of close looking at various boards, maybe being in conversation about things. John just sort of looks physically flagged. His movements get slower and slower, and Arnud will ask you what's wrong with you. I think probably as bluntly as that sounds.
Yeah. I mean, John kind of, it's not like a sudden sort of and then boom, 3 mana. It's sort of, this is almost a meditative exercise for John, but it's clearly like physically weakening. And Anu being an older guy is relying on John to do a bit more of the sort of physically strenuous stuff of clambering over things and checking behind stuff. Yeah, I think John is just gonna kind of like prevaricate and just kind of it's been a little while, the being out at sea, but I'm okay, and just tries to sort of brush it off as nothing.
Okay. I think Arnud's probably not going to push too much. He's already distracted enough, given sort of the new circumstances that he finds himself in. But you also, do you have your mage sight up, I assume, as you're sort of looking at your own pattern, finding ways to test it?
Yeah.
How does John sort of perceive this mana as it leaks out of him? This little bit of, unformed potential of the way the world could be, just sort of flowing out of his pattern and into him.
Well, I think it's he's thinking about it in terms of that, in terms of a test, in terms of truth. So this is sort of leaning on his newfound understanding of Prime, and kind of it's sort of like when you like kind of give a kind of rusty old bit of machinery a kick, and it sputters, and a bunch of stuff that was clogging it kind of flies out of it, and it's now kind of running a bit better, and there's a bit of like, oh, okay, there's clarification of its systems. So it's sort of giving his own pattern a kick, I think, that inspires him. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, seems good to me. And you have discovered the concept of scouring your attributes. You wonder if maybe there's probably, a different way to go about it. I imagine that when sort of scouring an attribute, the way that John goes about it is more sort of, I don't know, sort of shaving at it, maybe like planing over large bits of it, trying to stress test various large areas of it, thinning bits of his own pattern that sort of weaken the structural integrity of it. But there are different ways one can, weaken or test something, such as, going at it with a hatchet and trying to cut a big chunk out of it, or,
Exactly.
shooting a bullet at it. There might be different ways to go about this.
Yeah, this is more like kind of the prow of a ship meeting, meeting the kind of waves of the sea that are kind of sapping at that forward motion.
Mhm.
So it's just kind of, it's not just like hitting a brick wall, but it's like, like hitting heavy water, and you're really testing the strength of how well it can get through that water,
Mhm.
and kind of sapping the strength of that motion.
Okay. This might be a good time for you and Arnud to sort of prove your capabilities as shipwrights to the crew. So why don't, as you're going about this, you give me a a wits plus crafts roll, as you're going about trying to sort of recognize weaknesses and things that jump out to your knowledge. And I'll have our nude assistants add you, or add a, +1 after various penalties, just for the, the size of the ship and the condition of it.
Cool. And would I apply my carpentry specialty to that?
Yeah. Okay, 3 successes. That is one door open for the ship's crew. As you and Arnud are going about, you're being very efficient about sort of checking it, and you seem to very much know what you're doing. You probably identify some problems, and maybe even proactively figure out sort of what you'll need to fix them. You tell some of the crew about what you found, and sort of this immediate usefulness, makes some people start to probably talk about, how that old Dutch fellow and the, his man seem to know what they're doing.
Nice.
Cool. I'll take a door down, and what about anyone else? What does Kessin do while the ship is at sea?
Well, Dalian Master going to be
Ooh.
busy-ish sometimes. It's there's actually a perfect image for how I think Kessin feels about their job. And it's this one. There it is. I'm only productive for about 50 minutes a day. It's usually in the afternoon around 3:45. Like that. That's how they feel about the job. Remind me, what kind of ship is this technically? Is it a... You think so?
It is it's not a sloop. Sloops are small. It is a brig, I think. Yeah, it's a brig. Which is a sailing ship with 2 square-rigged masts. The brig was very popular during the golden age of piracy because they were fast and maneuverable, which meant that they made great pirate ships due to sort of their ease of escaping and chasing down prey. Well, comparative. Ship chases still took, days to weeks. But So what is Kesson doing at 3:45, or other than 3:45 when he's not being or they're not being productive?
Hmm. I would be. Hmm. Hmm. Well, I think that in this particular context, I am fascinated by the fact that all of a sudden, people who I didn't get along before are being very nice to me because of that spell from earlier. I am
Mm-hmm. Well,
surprised by this.
It,
they're
it's only
not.
yeah, it's only compelling, so it more just like breaks down any artificial barriers. You're considered as part of the in group, just kind of by default, which you probably already were, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
And I'll
yeah,
say
but
that it's not necessarily that people are being nicer to you or liking you more than they did before. In fact, the people who dislike you probably, or disliked you before, probably are acting even more like they dislike you. It's just sort of smoothing the ability for those connections to form between, the in group
ah,
of your little cabal, and the others to form connections from themselves towards you, whatever emotional underpinning may be beneath those connections.
Yeah, so they'd probably consider you more, but if they already disliked you, it would just intensify a bit, I guess. Yeah.
okay. Well, in that case, I'm still gonna make use of this. Like, it's still a change, which is fascinating,
Hmm.
and I think that we'd. I'd take the opportunity to play some games whilst we're sailing for 2 days. I'm thinking in particular things like I'm guessing we'd probably have at least a card game, maybe something more appropriate to the time period. I mean I'm guessing that the most
Hmm.
complicated game which some of these sailors can do is checkers. That's it. I'm not expecting like a fancy class like chess match or something. Plus the piece be all over the ground anyway, or the
Hmm.
deck. So, but something like that in nature, and I think that I would try to be a bit pushing my luck and start to do bets and things.
Okay. Um.
If anyone wants to
Uh.
give me any kind of like, if anyone wants to help me with some fate magic, that'd be useful. Yeah, help me
And
cheat.
yeah, and also potentially unwise, but being wise is for nerds.
Yeah,
Um.
who reads? Like, I just know magic. Okay, I know like the fish speak to me
Yeah.
and they tell me your
Um.
secrets.
Okay, yeah, cool. I will say that Kesson is perfectly capable of, spending all of their quote unquote ample free time trying to coax other people to play games on deck with them. Um, Other people on the crew do not have so much free time because there are, barrels to roll back and forth and rigging to pull and
You see, that's why
other
I'm so
sorts
good
of
at the game.
duties.
This
I
is my
can't do much
explanation.
with
I am
this.
good at this game because I have the time to perfect my technique.
Yeah, I'll say you're like probably, tossing the bones and doing some sort of, betting game
Yeah.
that's like blackjack with dice or something. And
I'm getting
I'm not going to
darts.
ask you to roll anything. We'll just say that
Okay.
Kesson spends sort of the entire 2 days louting about or loafing about. What is Dalian doing while you're setting sail for the island you have been forced to start thinking of as Saint Hilary?
Dalian is probably going to get acquainted with the crew, try to be as you know honest, unscrupulous as possible, and he's probably going to sort of just enjoy his time looking at the wave, the winds, still using his sight from time to time. Right now, he's trying to prepare. He's very nervous about his going back to his isle because he doesn't know what his father's state of health is,
Mm-hmm.
and he's probably just waiting patiently to be back home.
Okay. And is Pascal doing anything in particular?
Besides just generally like, helping around or, doing the whatever like manual labor doesn't require too much knowledge or skill like already integrated with the crew. He might be swinging around to Raul. Is that how you say that as the quartermaster, right?
Yep.
Due to and seeing if he requires any assistance because Pascal is a little bit good at like numbers and logistical stuff. I don't know if Raul is
Okay.
working now that we're switching from a more mercantile to piracy based
Yeah.
enterprise.
Didn't
Route.
didn't we
So-
also?
Pascal would definitely
Sorry,
be
I
willing
was
to
gonna say,
offer assistance to help out with that.
I was going to say, didn't we also establish last time that
We got an exception.
Pascal is now kind of the dad of the group because they're the oldest?
Yeah.
Was
I think
responsible.
Pascal probably finds Raul sort of when he goes looking for him, a little bit after embarking. He probably finds Raul sort of on part of the deck, upbraiding the person who's supposed to be up in the crow's nest for lazing about and being drunk. You probably walk up on him, sort of upbraiding yelling at this boy. Effectively, he's probably not too old because typically the younger and lighter folks were the ones who were made to climb up the rigging at risk of life and limb, and possibly using some physical discipline to reinforce his point.
I wouldn't interrupt, but Pascal, just going to kind of to the point to ask if there's any sort of like organizational stuff. Mention that he has had experience, helping to run ships in the past, and saying that it might be there's a lot of work to be done if switching like numbers wise, and that I'd be willing to offer some help.
Okay, yeah,
in any way that I could.
as the rigging boy sort of starts his scamper back up to the top, Raoul turns to you, considers your words. Are you... So, for the viewers at home, we established a couple of sessions ago that the crew is primarily Spaniards, and does Pascal speak Spanish, or is he, if I recall correctly,
Nope,
just sort of pulling together a pastiche of various
the
languages
pirate,
and words?
the pirate sailor pigeon that he'd be familiar with.
Yeah, the
He's
pirate
originally
melange.
French. Yeah, so he might have a bit of a French accent pulling through, but he has been on sea for a while.
Okay, yeah, you have probably a slightly amusing to watch conversation in which you sort of offer your assistance, talk about your background, and Raul is happy to, have someone else to go take stock of the supplies below deck, because, as De La Vega mentioned, they had to be a little scant on supplies that they wanted when they departed from Antigua, namely their supplies of citrus, netting, etc. And Raul hasn't had a chance to go about making a list for purchase orders yet, or for otherwise being acquired in exchange for money or otherwise.
All right. Pascal would try to itemize that as quickly as he can without making mistakes, so that he still has time to try to socialize with the crew.
All right,
Just in
sounds
general.
good. Okay, I'm not going to drag this on too much longer. The next day or so passes relatively uneventfully. It's not a long trip. You find yourselves, participating in sort of the cadence of shipboard life. This is an existing crew, and they have been together for some while at least, though things are a bit rough, you notice, due to the lack of manpower. Those of you who have been aboard ships before know that brigs require a fairly large crew to, steer them compared to sloops and whatnot, and so the lack of manpower from the crewmates who were released from service definitely is taking a toll on the efficiency of the crew. But you take meals with the crew, you have time to work with them, you talk to them, and you generally sort of get to start to feel the rhythm of life. I'm saying your impression level is, I think, good as a result of that spell. I'm just gonna say that the compelling raises the impression from the social maneuvering from average to good, which means that one of you all can make a roll once per day to get towards being sort of as considered more part of the in-group. And before too long, you arrive in eyesight of a shape on the horizon, which Dalian immediately recognizes as the island, which is now his home.
Yay!
You're approaching from the eastern side of it, which is sort of a little more treacherous in terms of mooring. As you approach to the island, those with spyglasses or otherwise the ability to enhance their eyesight to see it would notice that this side of the island is relatively sort of filled with obstacles such as mangrove forests, some cliffs. It's not a terribly large island, but there is enough elevation that there's a fairly large cliff face on part of the eastern edge of it, and at Dalian's instruction, the ship starts to sort of head along the northeast side of it. So, how does Dalian direct? Does Dalian sort of direct the ship to head towards, the settlement
No.
where the British are, or is he directing them to go a different way to avoid the British?
I mean, not yet. He's asking. Is part of the thing was that he discussed with the captain was to provide him with the opportunity to go back to his community just before going to see if they could help or give anything in exchange for basically raiding the English settlers.
Okay.
So he's gonna just say that he should probably go with a small contingent of people to discuss with them because they don't know the ship and they might react with hostility to outsiders.
Okay. Sounds good to me. De La Vega is sort of amenable to the idea of a ground team, and he's also amenable to the idea of ruining the day of some English colonists.
I volunteer to go, Captain. I have nothing else to do. Also, I want to check out what's on this island.
Dalian is going to mention the rest of John, Elgin, and Pascal as
John definitely wants to come along. Yeah.
yeah, but that
Okay.
could be of help to him.
Okay, sounds good. He'll also recommend that a couple of other people come with you.
No, no, that's the plan because Dalian will need to drop off his spell to go back to his people, and if he suddenly just get 30 years younger, the rest of the crew might not react amicably to that.
Okay, and so how does so De La Vega says, well, only the four of you going onto shore against, what I assume to be an armed English colony.
No, not
We
against
should
an army
sadly-
colony. No, just to go to Maroon first, then going back.
Okay.
Also, Captain, it's much more likely we'll avoid conflict if only a handful of us show up. I can roll manipulation subterfuge for this.
Okay.
Yeah, what Dalian is trying to ask is for a little group composed of a cabal to go to the Maroon community first to see if they have anything to trade, give, and then coming back to the ship and going to the English colony.
Yeah, sure. Dalian, give me a manipulation plus subterfuge roll.
Sure.
Can I help?
Yeah, you can add +1 from Kessen's involvement and sort of the captain's trust.
Yeah. Oh dear.
Okay.
Wait,
so-
I have
What?
wait. I have a condition. Present. Can I say that in preparation of this, I asked Kessen about any argument that could sway the captain, since Kessen knows the captain better than.
Oh.
Um,
Oh, I know all the dirt. So the captain, like, kind of a bit of a, gets around a lot. If we kind of if he kind of hint that one of his exes might be on the island, that might turn off the idea.
okay,
Just
shut up. Just shut up.
Yeah, so we can say that Dalian has gotten to know enough of the crew that sort of there are a couple of them who aren't sort of, are sort of the general labor who would be, sent to go do any hauling of supplies or whatever, and he can come up with some reasons why, it would be best, or these people can't be spared, because after all, the crew is down so many people. If you need to set sail immediately, if there's if you send any fewer or more than 4 people, it might be really hard to start to crew the ship in order to adequately get away. You could be caught by the navy, etc. And Baltazar finds that quite convincing. So we can go ahead and burn the prescient condition and take a beat. Success through gossip. Okay, cool. So a lifeboat is or not a lifeboat, but a little dinghy is set out on the side of the ship. You all are in it, along with enough supplies to get ashore and potentially spend the night if you find you need to, in case of eventualities. And you start to row through the crystal waters towards the rivers, or the outlets of the rivers coming out of the mangrove forest.
Just to ask before we get in, did we get any willpower back from the ship travel? And
Yes, you all should have gotten back 2 points of willpower from the 2 nights of rest since then.
All right. I just wanted to clarify. Yeah.
Yeah, good to clarify.
Good catch,
And before too long, you are out of earshot of the ship.
Okay.
That is
So
gonna
if
wait.
you could,
Everyone
you're
starts
gonna
talking
wait.
at once.
I was gonna suggest, like, maybe we can introduce you as like your own grandson.
What are you talking about?
You know.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Like, Dalian seems
What
really
kinda-
confused about that. Like,
So any lemurs on this island? Any ringtails?
I think what Henry is saying is that Kessen suggests that you reintroduce yourself to the ship crew as your own grandson from off the island. Like they left Dalian on the island and came back with young natural form Dalian.
okay, yeah, I didn't understood that.
Oh, you didn't as a player. Oh, I thought.
No,
as
I
in
didn't as a
character, you were-
player. No,
I thought in character you were acting like I don't get that. Like,
no. I mean, technically both didn't understand that then if a player didn't understood, but yeah, no, then is maybe if it can work, sure.
Would I have to remember
I
a
don't
new
know.
name, or
I don't know.
would the young one also be Dalian?
I have no idea.
Dalian the younger, Dolian, Donald.
Dalian.
I think we're gonna have to, find a way to balance these 2 parts of our lives here, and that's going to become easier, the more we become ingratiated into the crew.
You're taking things too seriously, and Kesson just kind of picks up a rock and starts like skipping it.
As soon as they're out of eyesight of the ship, Dalian is gonna drop his spell.
Okay. The spell from your artifact.
Oh my god, where'd Dalian
drops.
go? Just that's a moment.
Sort
of
of
like,
these aged features, and long facial hair and wrinkles, all sort of, I imagine, just sort of shimmer away, carried away
Yep,
by the breeze.
like mist. Yeah,
yeah.
or trick of the lights.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
revealing a
oh,
younger man, sort of with sort of the same features, a younger version of what the mask had shown.
oh.
Okay.
After he does this, Keston will go up and kind of just kind of sniff him. Does he smell old still?
No, he doesn't.
But he does smell uncomfortable by Keston sniffing him.
What? It's perfectly natural to smell people.
Maybe where you come from.
I
Maybe
come from the same place everyone else did.
Maybe in
This
Denmark,
planet.
or not Denmark,
Maybe in
the
Denmark.
Netherlands. Everyone's sniffing each other.
Well, you did see some of the amazing translations from Dutch, didn't you? Like nukin in de koeken. It's like
Yeah. Okay.
Dutch is,
So
just this place, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, and Dalian will say, okay, well, follow me. Just, our village isn't far from here.
Right.
We shouldn't encounter any trouble.
who is rowing?
The rum.
Sorry.
I'll
Definitely
row. I'll
rum.
row.
Okay.
With what?
Rowing.
Rowing. Oh, I thought we were already beach. Dalian is rowing then,
Okay.
I guess.
So in terms of actually reaching the camp, Dalian knows that the easiest way to, get sort of to the, the encampment without being seen or detected is actually through the mangrove forests, on boat, through sort of the marshy areas, which is slightly treacherous going.
Again, when you're talking about the encampment, are you talking about the English one? Because Dalian has
No, I'm talking
doesn't know-
about the maroon
Okay.
encampment.
Yeah, okay. Then yeah, to the mangrove then.
Okay. Give me a athletics plus strength roll -1.
I'm gonna use a willpower then. Strength, athletics. Damn.
Damn, almost exceptional.
Almost.
Cool.
Whoa.
But so Dalian is clearly an old pro at this. You all watch as Dalian, is expertly maneuvering the boat through the sort of treacherous marshes. He navigates the boat around obstacles which you all don't even see until you're on top of them, and you make great time into the forest up through the marsh and towards the sort of comparatively easier sailing of the upper river proper. It takes about an hour or so of travel. It's not a very large island, so you reach sort of the close to the heart of it relatively quickly. And before too long, Dalian sees sort of the telltale signs leading him back to the encampment in the form of, certain marks on trees or certain landmarks he's recognized before, rock formations and waterfalls, etc. And you find yourselves setting ashore after tying off the boat to a certain tree, and Dalian leads the way a small way further to what looks like, or to where sort of the first signs of civilization jump out at you. Not civilization, but sort of habitation. You see sort of a glimpse of, ship's sail canvas through some trees, and maybe hear some hushed voices before being shushed. How does Dalian approach?
Very in the open. Just I'm looking at how many languages Dalian knows. French, Spanish. I'm not sure what kind of language this community would speak, but it's it's probably Dalian's native language, so he would just
Yeah. They probably are speaking some pastiche of Spanish and other sort of Afro-Caribbean languages. Maroons are typically escaped slaves for sort of historical context, and so often they bring with them, the languages that they had to speak in order to communicate with their captors, and for Dalian's encampment, the Maroons have also sort of integrated on this island with a number of the natives who have lived here before. So it's a pastiche of languages. I'm not gonna worry too much about it. Dalian is capable of communicating with them perfectly fluently, and the others will also manage it.
So
Go ahead.
Dalian is just. Oh, sorry.
I said go ahead.
Dalian is just walking in the open with open arms, saying, "It's me, Dalian, back, and I've brought some stranger that might help us with the English."
Okay. So as Dalian makes this announcement, there isn't this immediate rustling of activity as everyone comes out to greet him, but you don't get stuck full of arrows or bullets as you walk. And as you enter the encampment proper, you are greeted by what's his name? What did I name him? Ife, one of the men of the encampment, who is happy to see you back. Dalian, you've been gone for it feels like months, but in reality it was only 3 weeks. Were you successful in finding medicine?
I have it with me, yes, and he's gonna um, take up the little flask. I imagine it's a glass flask or something like that.
Yeah,
Out of
something
one
like
his
that.
pocket, and
My heart is happy to hear that. You should go see your father soon. He is still
how
not
is he?
well. Dalian would know sort of, where his family's tent in the encampment is, or was, and so, yeah, he lets, or before he lets Dalian pass, he asks, and who are they? The rest of you see sort of him gesture, pointing probably directly at you.
We're friends.
Friends
They,
that you made on Antigua.
nods, and they
Yes, and
might even
waves.
help us with the English settlers.
We will discuss this later, but you can tell that Ife looks skeptical of the
Yeah.
prospect of these Europeans helping you, and their presence here. But he doesn't sort of react with hostility as you all presumably walk past him. Okay, so I think this is a good point at which for us to take a break. We've been going for about an hour, so we will be back in 10 minutes. I will see you all at 10 past the hour.
All right.
All right. Cheers.
See ya. Hello, welcome back to Horizon and Marmoris. We're back from break and ready to do more bullshit. So, Dalian walks through the encampment and, one of the first things which immediately jumps out to him, is that he doesn't see as many people sort of out and about as he did last time he was in the encampment when he left approximately 3 weeks ago. He sees some folks out, performing chores or doing other tasks, and they're happy to see him. But
He's happy to see him, also.
But he also notices that there are quite a few faces he doesn't see, and it's not like there's any. The camp's not that big, so it's not like there'd be, somewhere for them all to be hiding.
He's gonna turn his head to the rest of his. I guess we're not cabal, but crewmates.
Sure, you are crewmates at this point.
Yes.
Yes. And he's gonna say, okay, I
People
just
I've
need.
met.
We'll just take a quick detour to my family's place, I guess.
Mhm.
After that,
Yeah.
I'll be able to introduce you to Samara or talk with the others.
Okay, so
John has been kind of like quite absorbed, but at the mention of Samara, who I think Dalian has presumably named before,
Yes.
John is very interested in that. John has been looking at a bit of ship's hull that was kind of just from like a wreck, a bit of flotsam from the beach, and has been kind of turning it over and kind of staring at it a bit.
Okay. So it's not a very long walk to get to the tent in which Dalian's father and Dalian had been staying a month ago. It's sort of near the center of the camp, and the door or the flaps are drawn relatively tight. It's quite small, not more than probably 15-ish square feet on the inside, 20 maybe. Well, actually, no, it'd be more like 50 square feet. I have my proportions off, and I don't know what that would be in meters.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's small. It's enough room for 2 people to sort of be in there and sleep, and have their affects, but not really enough room for 5 people to comfortably be in there together.
Daniel is gonna enter like in sort of a rush to see how his father is doing.
Dalian opens up the curtains quickly, ducks in, presumably doesn't tell any of the rest of you any direction, and sort of disappears into the darkened interior.
He also doesn't bother closing the door. The door.
The flap, yeah.
The curtains, behind them.
Okay, yeah. So in the darkened interior, he has to stop for a second as his eyes adjust to the dimness within. The canvas isn't, completely blocking of all light. It's not pitch black inside, but it's certainly dimmer. But with the flap open, there's enough light to see around by. And Dalian sees on the other side of the tent sort of his father's form laying on a small, rough, sort of improvised cot made out of scavenged wood, with laying on a mattress stuffed with straw. And his father is laying on his back, his face slightly drawn, more so than when he last remembered, but he sees his father's chest sort of rising and falling beneath the thin blanket above him as he lays sleeping.
Okay, he's not conscious, and
He is not. Do you
Daniel
wake
is
him?
gonna. Not yet. He's gonna just try to ascertain his general health.
Okay. So Dalian looks him over. The things that immediately sort of stand out to him from what he can see of his father's, actual body. His face is sticking out from top of the blanket, of course, but aside from the skin being more drawn and gaunt, he's definitely looks like he's lost weight. And there are small sort of discolorations or, small pocks. Well, not pocks, but, splotches or discolorations, on his skin. Not large ones, but they, look generally irritated.
Hmm.
His breathing is, shallow but relatively steady as he sleeps. It's not, his breaths aren't erratic. Just a good sign.
What could John, and Keston see with their where their life and spirit side?
Are they following Dalian into the tent?
John certainly is, yeah.
Okay. Who else sort of follows into the tent and who remains outside?
Pascal would probably be willing to like stay on the outside since it's a smaller room.
Mhm.
Give them
Yeah,
some.
I
distance
think
and
I'm
space.
more. I think Keston's more interested in whatever strange wildlife, little critters might find out here. Doesn't really want to deal with the emotional stuff.
Okay. So, John, inside of the tent, sort of, standing behind Dalian, I imagine, looking past him.
Yeah,
You.
looming weirdly.
Okay, so you're turning on your active life and spirit sight, you said. Cool. So life sight, or as you open your eyes up to your senses up to sort of the Dalian's father and all of the parts of his pattern as it appears to you, and you smell this sort of rot, which immediately sort of wafts into your symbolically wafts into your senses. There is the presence of some disease in Dalian's father that is atrophying him and weakening him. It smells like something wasting. But he is still alive. Clearly, he's breathing, and his life force sort of stands out to you. You hear sort of the pounding of his heart, in your eardrums.
Is there any sort of spiritual influence?
Yeah. So, looking around with spirit sight, the interior of the tent is resonant with sickness and with what's the word?
Dalian, your father is thick.
What is the word I'm looking to?
Congestion?
Porcine. There is a resonance of pigs, hooved creatures, porcine creatures in here.
Huh.
But
Okay.
looking around, you don't see any pigs.
John is gonna kind of ask Dalian, like, do you guys keep, do your people kind of keep pigs here, or I'm getting pigs?
Dalian knows that they do not keep pigs. They require, too much attention and resources to keep in one place, though they do have chickens.
No, we don't have any pigs. Never seen one. I mean, there's a few wild on the island, but we don't keep them.
I think John kind of wants to show this to Dalian because this is Dalian's father kind of thing. So I'm going to use a spell from Signs called Shared Sight.
Ooh.
Okay.
And I'm going to scramble to find it, just to see how
Page
much
28.
mana it's going to cost me. Yep.
Meanwhile, I guess Dalian is gonna gently wake up his father, if that's okay. Or maybe you want to cast a spell first.
I mean, you can wake him up. That's fine.
Yeah.
Sorry, my
Okay.
PDF
So
reader has just crashed.
that's fine. You reach out and you gently prod him, shake his shoulder, and it takes a little bit. I assume Dalian is being gentle because
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't want to startle him.
Absolutely. Yes.
So like eventually, however, he starts to stir, and you manage to rouse him to consciousness. He opens his eyes, and they look sort of bloodshot and weary, and tired, and it takes a while for him to sort of, get himself, adequately in a state of mind to recognize you. But when he does recognize you, he exclaims in joy, and he tries to, sit up as quickly as he can, and reach out to embrace you. Dalian, oh, I was so worried about you.
I'm fine, father. Just don't worry. I have some medicine here.
Okay. Well, he's happy to hear that. Yeah, no, he's happy to hear that, but he's also, continues to be more concerned about, you and how you managed to get back safely, than he is in the medicine, it seems. Even as you're trying to, I imagine, as you prop him
don't
up
worry,
and
father.
try to get
Yes.
him in a position to administrate it and all that, and he's continuing to, ply you with questions in his tired, groggy voice, even as you're rotating him around and getting him set up.
Don't worry, father. I met some friends who helped me get the medicine. I'm safe.
Okay. Yeah, you have to assure him of that a couple of times, but eventually he seems to, quiet down. And you hand him the vial. His hands shake as he brings it up to his mouth and drinks it down, and almost immediately he makes this horrid face and coughs and seems to be struggling a bit to swallow it down. Dalian, looking at the vial, can see that there's definitely a little bit of grit in it, so it's probably not the most comfortable drinking experience, but he chokes it all down. John, with his life sight up, I imagine John's sort of trying to figure out the imago as this is going on, before he manages to cast it. But you can go ahead and, well, for the sake of drama, we'll say that you can go ahead and make the attempt, as Dalian's father is drinking it.
Sure, yeah, I'll let him see whether it's working or not. So I'm going to roll a bit of paradox, and I think John is feeling quite careful here, and mindful of the surroundings. So John is actually going to try and hold this. He's still thinking of that kind of hull metaphor of kind of holding the dangerous cargo back and contain the paradox.
Okay, so you're casting this Prime 1 Spirit 1. I think for combined or for conjunctional casting, it's just you cast using the largest. No, it's a prime spell with spirits, so I guess roll.
Yeah,
using your
it'd be prime
roll.
with 1 dot of spirit in there, and I'm going to add life as well because I can add my ruling without spending mana, so
Okay.
it's just going to be the 1 mana. Let me roll that paradox. Okay, thankfully no successes there. And I'm not seeing where to add willpower, so I'm just going to stick it in the dice mod.
It's in the other modifier, yeah.
All right, and that's a success. So that is on Dalian. You now have Prime, Spirit, and Life Sight.
Ooh.
Specifically, your prime
Yeah,
spirit
tied
and life
to
sight.
yeah.
It's still
Um,
through
Thanks.
your kind of metaphor, yeah. But you
Mhm.
can now see the resonance that John was talking about,
Yeah.
and you can see with Life Sight kind of the disease and your father's health.
mhm.
Since he casts a spell, Dalian is gonna use his sight and look silently at his father for a while.
So, from Arcadia's sort of interpretation of, life.
I imagine when life is his Arcadian sight is sort of vibrant, natural for life. So if it's
Mhm.
disease, it's probably seeing withered flowers or
Mhm.
maybe dead
Yeah.
insects
Yeah, and
around.
so going off of that, and also, Science of Sorcery has a fun section sort of explaining how the various arcana appear in the perspective of each given path. If those of you at home don't have it yet, highly recommend. But Dalian also sees sort of life in the form of change, also, the way Dalian sees other things. Dalian sees sort of the pattern of his father appearing to him as almost sort of skewered by thorns, sort of dead
Yeah,
flowers that
dead vines
pierce.
shocking him.
Yeah, and the vines pierce his pattern, and he sort of hears crackling, the crackling of petals underfoot. That sort of override the whatever other sounds or music or laughter or whispers might otherwise sort of be influencing his pattern. The overriding sound of his father's body is this crackling, and everything else sort of is subsumed beneath it. But with spirit sight, Dalian also sees
His
Dalian
spirit,
also. Sorry, go ahead.
his spirit side will be very, very Arcadian in the sense of seeing sort of monster witch familiars and other that, but with colors of thorns or
Yeah,
manacles or sort of thing.
Dalian sees sort of like faces peeking out of the thorns and bushes that sprout up in the corners of this tent. Tusks and wild boar faces, snouts that sort of appear for just a second and then vanish. Curled tails, sort of that poke out through out of the edge of pots and out of dirt before withdrawing.
Then he's gonna stay silent and he's gonna just.
And with Prime Sight, he does not notice the presence of any awakened spells.
Yeah, that's good at least. Then
Well,
he's
aside from the
probably
one on you.
yeah. Then he's probably gonna stay silent and just focus to cast one of divination spell.
So as Dalian's father takes the medicine, however, while you guys both have your sight up, you sort of see, the thorns shrink a bit. The smell of disease, takes on a slightly different tenor, slightly less sort of pungent and, almost debilitating. But it still smells unwholesome. The thorns are still there, but the pain has abated. Dalian's father, will be more comfortable for a time, but the signs of disease in his body remain.
Okay, so he's not gonna cast any spell then because that question has been answered.
So Your father, continues to cough as he swallows down the grapes. Ugh. Well, if I wanted to drink sand, I could go down to the beach. Ugh. I don't know what you had to do to get it, but I thank you and hope it helps, Dalian.
I hope it
I
helps
feel a
too.
little better now, even.
Just get some rest, all right? I'm not
Well,
going anywhere for now.
yeah. Well, I can't do anything but. I haven't been able to get up and leave the tent on my own in quite some while. I have to have one of the lads come by to bring me food and help me get out to the toilet, even.
Don't
You,
worry, I'll.
Dalian, what's your father's name? Did you give him one?
Where is it? I know I gave him one, but let me see. I cannot find it.
Okay.
No.
Go ahead and throw up an entry in Conca for him when you have a time or a moment, so that we can reference it later. But his father says, after sort of sitting there silent for a bit while you minister to him, he says, "Dalian, I think you should leave and not come back."
Oh.
He this I'm not the only one to fall ill here since you've left. I don't want this to happen to you.
I don't worry about me. I'm fine for now. Just we'll talk. We'll talk about this. Let's just get some rest. We'll talk about it later.
Um,
Promise.
when you say he says that so many others, so many dead, dead to the English, dead in their beds, and the young hale ones too, not just the old. He consents to let you sort of help him lay back down, but he starts sort of rambling about the others, and he maybe names a couple of poor people, or a couple of people like uh poor poor Jeffe, poor Sanite, and sort of others who, based on context, you presume are either ill or have died to some misfortune or other. But before too long, his strength sort of leaves him and he falls back asleep.
Could it be that the English were bringing pork, poisoning them or something? John is kind of wandering aloud here to Dalian.
Yeah. Dalian is more focused as his father right now, and he just shrugs at, like, I don't know. I'm just trying to get his father to go back to sleep. I found the name. Talon.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, Talon sleeps gently. If you have permission, go ahead and make an entry for him in Conca, and I can do whatever editing. And yeah, so
Nope.
eventually you guys come back outside. Going back to sort of the other two while they were inside, it took quite a while since they were ministering to him and waking him gently. Kesson, you were looking for interesting animals. Did you wander particularly far, or did you just sort of stay there in front of the tent with Pascal?
Depends how much I heard.
Of the inside of the tent, or of the creatures around
the inside
you?
of the tent.
Okay. I mean, the flap
Dalian
was...
wasn't. Oh, yeah. Dalian wasn't particularly secretive or anything like that. So.
Yeah, the flap was
John was
open,
wandering
so
aloud, yeah.
so the the sounds weren't quite muffled.
Okay, then I definitely wander off.
Oh, because you did hear the inside, you wander.
Don't want to hear it. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So as you wander about sort of the camp or through the camp, are you heading sort of out of the ring of the camp or sort of elsewhere within it?
I mean, I wonder where I wander. I'm not really paying attention to being within the camp or out of it.
Okay. So you definitely, you receive looks that range from sort of, suspicion to outright hostility as you do wander about. No one sort of does anything to you, presumably because they saw you come in with Dalian, or heard about it. But you follow your ears. You're listening to bird cries. You're listening to the sounds of distant chittering. You, as wouldn't surprise, Kessin, the wildlife near this encampment of humans is fairly sparse. Animals have learned probably not to come too close if they don't want to get hunted. But there's plenty of birdsong, and, listening and looking for it. Eventually, Kessin will sort of find himself at the north edge of the encampment, sort of looking out over a sort of view that, I think he probably sees sort of, through the jungle towards where he thinks he sees a large, flock of birds sort of nesting, singing, mating, with, big sort of elongated beaks and black bodies and colorful striped markings.
Has
Ah.
Pascal gone with him?
Yeah. So I was just about to ask, what is Pascal doing?
Pascal would probably try to, like, not necessarily, probably not,
Are
like,
you
follow.
following me?
Yeah, probably not, but Pascal, like, I don't know, he wouldn't want to make too much of, like, an intrusion, like, on the like, encampment group of people, but he'd definitely be curious, so he's probably gonna try to wander around and just kind of try to pick up, like, the vibe of the town,
Okay. Calling it a town's a little bit generous, but
Yeah.
Pascal
word,
sort of,
I'd say.
being nosy, would, notice the same thing eventually Dalian did, that there are, there's not very many people compared to tents. There's definitely sort of a lack of energy, and the, the people he does see are generally sort of all busy with chores or, morose, or both.
Pascal would just, give them a berth, but just, just try to take the measure of the place.
Yeah. It's not very large. It won't take you very long to, sort of get through all of it. But it's definitely very sort of ramshackle. Scavenged materials, recycled sailcloth used for tents rather than, actual canvas. Food being left out to dry. That sort of deal. And Kessin, are you going off into the jungle?
Yeah,
Or
I
are
want to
you
see
just
what's
sort
out
of-
there.
Okay. Give me a dexterity plus survival roll as you trek off into, the brush.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Look at that.
Successes. You manage to make your way off to where you see some interesting looking birds. Meanwhile, Pascal and or not Pascal, Dalian and John sort of come out of the tent, maybe, closing the flap behind them, perhaps, and they can see Pascal sort of a little ways wandered away, but don't see hide or hair of Kessin.
So John is kind of quite concerned because this is evidently larger than just Dalian's dad. Like this is something that's claiming a few people, but doesn't want to just shake Talon awake and question him. So is just kind of passing some of that nervous energy to Dalian and kind of trying to draw Dalian out a bit and be kind of like, what do you think it's the English that are doing this to them? Like, you can see what I've seen, right? Like the resonance there of the pigs and the porcineness. And they, do you think they would buy pork or blah, blah, blah? And it's kind of like stream of consciousness almost.
Dalian is obviously not well at all, is looking around and just realizing a few people there is, and that just be devastated for a moment. It takes a few minutes before he just shake his head and say, I don't know, I think I better go talk to Samara. I'm sure it's English fault, but I don't know what fucking did.
I guess running back into the other two, Pascal's going to ask Dalian, was it this bad when you left? It's looking pretty rough.
No, it wasn't this bad at all.
John can kind of see that. Oh shit! Yeah, Dalian's looking pretty crestfallen about this stuff, and kind of lays a hand on his shoulder and is like, "Yep, we'll talk to Samara. We'll find out what's been going on, and maybe we can help. There are things that we can do. We can see a way."
Yeah. Where's Kessin?
I was actually about to ask you that. They didn't go inside?
No.
Pascal probably would have seen Kessin sort of wander off into the jungle.
Oh, in that case, then Pascal would have just said, like, oh, they wandered off a little bit.
Should probably get them back. It's not especially safe right now.
It's fine.
Kessin's the natural philosopher. Yeah, they'll. They've got their own way of looking at things. I'm sure he'll probably be okay.
I
might be best just to check.
Yes.
With all this stuff going on.
I mean, John very much wants to go and see Samara. So would maybe volunteer to go and have a wander around and look at stuff, but doesn't kind of want to miss out on that introduction.
Okay, so you all go head off into the jungle chasing Kessin then?
Yep.
Okay. Kessin, you make your way, quietly enough through the jungle. You're not the most dexterous person, but you find your way through the brush without stepping on any branches or breathing too loud as you come closer to this clearing where you hear sort of the sound of birdsong. You just hear cawing, and Kessin's been in the Caribbean before. He's seen strange fauna and flora, but these birds are just brilliant. The coloration is lovely. The shape of the beak isn't something you've ever seen before. They're similar-ish in terms of other blah blah blah. They're not, but they're impressive species, but they're not completely unprecedented. What is Kessin doing? Doing more sketching or?
I mean, yeah, I'm just taking stock of some things. I won't be gone too long. I'd also be, I guess, looking for anything magical as well. Dare I use the M word? Since we encountered. I mean, I encountered some pretty interesting things earlier. It's like, I wonder what else is out here.
Okay.
So I'd probably check with quote unquote mage side, etc., and see if anything draws my attention.
Quote unquote mage site, the exact thing that it's actually called. Okay, cool.
But the thing is, I don't know what it is yet. Like, I'm
Yeah.
just like, I can see things.
Yeah. And also smell things and taste things
Yeah, all the
and feel the
non-visual
sensations
mages
of things.
got shafted with
Really
that.
just experience, the
Getting all up in that
pattern
sensation.
around you. Yes. And sort of Kessin, is looking around with, I assume, life and spirit sight. The life sight
Yeah,
is very
yeah.
helpful for finding flora and fauna, but it's also somewhat blinding because everything is alive around here. With spirit sight, Kessin sort of sees all the sort of counterparts of the animals and plants around him as they're reflected into, or as they're reflected through their resonances. He sees, tree resonances, vine resonance, the rain resonance of, a recent rain that came through the island, sort of still scattered about throughout the, the jungle being, does Kessin have spirit? No, Kessin just has spirit one. So really Kessin's just seeing, the resonance of this place, the vibes, so to speak, that all the life is also animistically sort of projecting from itself. The birdness of these birds, stands out to him as they gather and mate and do other bird things. And eventually,
there's a lot of mating going on here.
Yeah, I mean, 'tis the season. Kessin would be aware.
Okay.
And eventually after Kessin's not wandering far then, you said?
No, not that far. It wouldn't take long if they go out searching, and
Okay.
would probably have made enough of a path in the bush, etc.
Yeah. Okay, for the sake of expeditiousness, we'll say that you all eventually sort of find Kessin not far from camp, sort of, sketching into his book while watching some of the birds that Dalian would be familiar with in the area. And it doesn't take long for you to get back to encampment.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, John is going to kind of, loop both Pascal and Kessin into what he and Dalian saw. With the resonances, particularly describing that for Kessin, and their suspicions about, is this something that the English have inflicted?
Kessin, give me a wits and composure roll. I guess we can call this a perception check if it matters.
If it's a perception check, then my trained observer would apply.
Yeah,
So
you
it
get
wouldn't
9
be
again.
here.
No 9s, Spo.
Okay.
Anyway,
I get 8 again.
Oh, okay, cool.
I have the
So
8 conversion.
roll 2 more dice then.
Oh,
Ooh,
what
a
the fuck?
1d2.
That was not right. What am I doing?
Flipping a coin, apparently. Okay, cool.
Nice.
Oh shit!
Almost exceptional.
I roll
but-
again. No, I roll again because I got 9 and then is it not again there as well?
Oh yeah,
forget.
you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
It's exceptional. I said roll. I get 9. No, it is.
okay. Exceptional success. Yeah. So Kessin, as you mentioned, sort of, pork resonance. Kessin has also been looking at resonances out here in the jungle, and your ears prick up, because you noticed pig resonance somewhere in the pastiche out there in the jungle. A faint whiff of it. Just the, most momentary little barnacle of pork resonance before you sort of, blew past it, to something more interesting. It must have been just left over from someone when someone ate a pig there or something. You couldn't say exactly where it is, but you know that it was there, and you know that you could look for it again. In terms of outcome for this, just take back a point of willpower.
Oh yeah, max willpower.
Okay. In that case, I'll give you, I'll give you the, we'll give you a condition called truffle sniffer. You
Truffle
are,
sniffer.
you can gain a +2 to the next roll you make, which is searching for something.
Okay, we need to find Bigfoot. So cryptids. Must be cryptids out here. Yeah.
Okay.
The mention of pork or pig, then I'd say. When you mentioned that, I think there's something piggy related out where I've just been actually. Maybe if we have time, we can go and take us a look. But it might be getting. Actually, what time of day is it? Would it be getting dark?
It's probably getting towards it's late afternoon at this point. It's not, dusk or anything.
Yes. But if it says it's the afternoon, Dalian shake his head and say it's gonna get dangerous soon. We don't want to be out late in the jungle.
And what happens if we're found by any of those damn English that might shoot us?
Also,
Or worse, try to sell us tea.
When are we planning to go back to the boat, actually?
I don't think there was an official timetable. I think you set off with enough supplies.
Like a search party or anything.
Yeah, I think, you set out expecting that, maybe you wouldn't be back by nightfall. If you're gone for longer than, another day without sending word, then that might be sort of adequately worrying that the ship will, send someone after you or just leave.
Can I present a plan?
of course.
I think that we've got a lead there, which is Keston spotted something out there that might be connected with this pork resonance. But we don't want to kind of go out and endanger ourselves following that lead right now because that might be dangerous. I suggest that we go to Samara now and speak to the other villagers and kind of get a bit more of a picture about what's going on, because if they already know that it's the English that's doing this, then that's the question answered. So if we talk to them now and then we have this lead which we can say to them, look, we can sort out this problem for you, we can find out what's going on and maybe help out. If you want
like
to,
that.
and
Yes.
if that's kind of a bargaining chip, that's something we can offer if we need to get in their good graces. If there's stuff that they want to share or not share, that kind of gives us a chip there. So we'll take what we've got now, go and talk to kind of Samara or whoever else is sort of leadership in this village, and see what we can kind of barter in return.
Yeah, I'll bring up that it seems like they, definitely seem like they need the supplies right now as well, so you might not be able to get
They're
too
on the ropes,
much
yeah.
in return, yeah. Just in the sense that, like, isn't that one of the reasons we stopped the ship here? Was it's very low on supplies, and so we convinced some of the crew to come here, kind of on that promise, right?
That's a good point. Yeah, that was it, wasn't it, Dalian?
Yeah, I mean, more so. I didn't expect, like, if this wasn't like that when I left, and I left just I wasn't gone for months.
So Pascal would definitely be, not offering necessarily a solution, but wondering like how are we going to, spin this to the crew in terms of if we put in like a big effort, they're definitely probably expecting
I
something.
think we just like
I think
the
information
the
is key.
Englishmen. Yeah, we have information, the English, and that's definitely still there.
These people live on the same island as this English colony, so they're going to have some information that could be useful to us. So if we can barter for something like that, that will be great for us.
Okay.
And then we can take the English's supplies. So
Yes,
That's a win-win-win.
hell yeah. So yeah, like if everybody's happy with that, I don't want to kind of commandeer anything, but I think that seems to be the way to go right now. And then we can follow up on leads if we need to, or like get someone to guide us during the night. I don't know, and see how we go.
Okay.
You know you had a sense of humor, John. Don't want to commandeer anything.
no. Right now, let's go to Samara. I told you guys I would introduce you, so
Okay.
do
So
it.
I imagine that you guys are having this conversation, partly while you're standing out in the jungle, and partly as you, make your way back before you get back within earshot of the encampment.
Yeah, it's a private conversation, definitely.
Mhm.
yes.
So Samara's tent is sort of a little bit outside of the main encampment. She lives alone. She keeps a little bit of a distance from the others, as is normal for, practitioners of, obia or other sort of, forms of witchcraft. In maroon encampments, they have, Samara has a place of respect in the encampment, but she definitely, that is also tempered with, a tinge of, fear and mystique and misunderstanding. And so she lives a little bit apart. But Dalian has come to her before, has, confided in her and, solicited her aid. He has her as a 1-dot mentor. And so, I assume, has no such sort of fear.
No.
And I
Yeah,
wonder.
not since he has this. Not since his awakening. No.
Okay.
And maybe not even before.
Does Samara, know about Dalian's powers or
Dalian.
capabilities? Has Dalian
Yeah,
tried
yeah.
to show her?
Yes. Dalian told her everything and tried to assure her. Since none of his spells are really at this level, none of what he can do are extremely obvious. It's more prediction, happenstance, coincidence. I don't imagine he was able to show anything flashy at all.
Yeah. So, in terms of what Dalian is capable of, for the folks at home, Dalian is an acanthus. Dalian, he has
Sure.
at this point 2 dots in time and 1 dot in fate. Doing divinations, making correct predictions, and I don't know how you couched them in terms of maybe the spirits whispering to you or being able to read
Yeah,
the
it's
tides
consulting
or
the
whatnot.
spirit. Yeah, it's consulting the spirits for information.
I'm gonna say just sort of it seems like you what you're getting at is you haven't provoked sort of quiescence in Samara. You don't necessarily know that, and so I'm gonna say that the amount of what you've told her or tried to demonstrate to her is like very limited. Maybe you tried, you successfully predicted the outcome of a race or a competition or something, and that was a a little parlor trick, or maybe a little bit of something to do a small demonstration, but nothing flashy enough, like
No.
giving her a knowing spell or anything that would have been more drastic. So I'm gonna say that Samara doesn't necessarily, know you as, a practitioner of Obia or anything like that, but she knows that you're special, broadly defined.
No, definitely. It would definitely, since his awakening, go and try to learn the practice from her. So he does have some training, just very, very basic.
Okay. Cool. So her tent is a little bit larger than the others. It is well kept up. It's surrounded by a small garden, in which a variety of plants and herbs, both native or seemingly native to the island and possibly imported or pillaged from elsewhere, are growing, of a wide variety. And her tent flap is open, and there's a small sort of pot boiling on a fire or bubbling on a fire in front of it, from which it smells like food is being cooked. And you can sort of see her shape inside of her tent from a distance as you approach.
So he's gonna announce himself, Samara. I'm back.
Welcome.
And walk towards the tent with the others in tows.
Oh, welcome, child. Welcome. Who you returned with medicine for your father, I hear. Did it help?
Yeah. It did seems to abate the pain a bit, but it doesn't look like it helped that
Okay,
much.
And she asks you about sort of what was given to you by the English physics.
Yeah, he's gonna basically say what he knows was. I don't think he knows a lot. He has tiny, teeny bits of medicine, so he's gonna recite as clearly as he
Sure.
can.
Give me a intelligence and medicine roll, or science, either one.
Medicine, definitely, and I'm gonna use a point of willpower.
Okay. No successes. So Dalian knows that there was powdered coral in it.
Wait,
And
no, that's not quite right. It's only rolled the 3 dice from willpower, not the intelligence medicine.
Did
My
you
bad.
highlight them?
There.
Okay.
No, I didn't. I
All
forgot.
right. One success. Yeah, you can recall most of the ingredients that went into it. There was obviously the powdered coral that you gathered yourself, but there was a few other things that you remember the names of on a couple of the vials. Others weren't really labeled, and the physic didn't sort of elaborate as to what was going into the medicine as he was saying it. But you managed to convey most of the ingredients that went into the the mixture.
Mhm.
And Samara, sort of nods, thinking about them. Maybe makes a note or two, and thanks you for the information. And so, what will you do now, child? I'm sure she makes an expansive gesture. You've noticed the plight that we are in.
Yes, I. Do you know anything about it? Oh, also, sorry, and he's just gestured to the rest of the crew, his crewmates. Those are friends that came to help me get the medicine. Came back. I think they'd like to talk to you. They're a bit so special. Well, they are. I don't know what to call it, but I think we can practice some. Oh, yeah, but themselves. And maybe if you can help with what's happening. I have no idea what. And he just at a loss for word, trying to gather his thought, put into case, and just stumbling over himself.
Okay. So when you say that, or when you tell her that, they also can, are practitioners. Maybe they can do OB also. She, looks at them sort of a mixture of concerned and quizzical, because, obviously they're all Europeans, outsiders. And she says, can you speak with the spirits, then? I haven't ever known a European. She probably, I don't know. I don't know if she says that word, but she probably says either that or something like, a white man to, be able to speak with
white
the
devil, yeah.
spirits the way that we do. What? Tell me more.
John has been kind of like hovering, sort of a little bit out, kind of at a respectful distance, as Dalian is speaking with Samara, and kind of clearly excited, and kind of explains that we are not sort of initiated into the same traditions as yourself. We are of different descent, but we share. We are all seers. We are all those who can see, the truth of the world from our own perspectives. And he's kind of gesturing to himself and Samara, indicating, the differences thereof. And yeah, I guess John is kind of eager to like hear about what Samara's perspective is, because as far as John is concerned, I don't know if this has been explicit, but John thinks that Samara is, a mage like the rest of them. So he's kind of approaching this from the conversation in the same way that they've all talked to each other about their various like mage sites and things.
Do
So
you
he's kind of
do you
asking these
use
questions that way.
the speech?
We haven't really. I mean, I sort of
We
understand.
know, yeah, we know to out of character. I think we know to use ice speech. We just don't know to use it as a yantra.
Yes,
I
that's
remember
correct.
correctly.
Every mage sort of instinctively knows how to speak and understand and read high speech. And I imagine that when you guys are, you're talking about magic or things you see, it's sort of, there comes points where, you really can only describe the things you see using the high speech rather than, having to resort to metaphors in English or Dutch or French or whatever.
Yeah, and
so
I picture John like when he detects what sort of arcana something is with his periphery, is not understanding it as like, oh, it's time or it's fate or whatever. He's understanding
kinda,
it
yeah.
in that high speech sort of
right.
Like the
language
pure
for it. So
comprehension.
like, yeah, he would probably demonstrate like, oh yes, I am, I see the truth of, prime and
Sorry.
spirit, etc.
And saying, those arcana in, their names in the speech.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. It's when you say these words, which are, full of meaning, and, you can see sort of the numinous understanding of them in the faces of yourselves and your fellow ballmates. When you look at Samara's faces, you see them. It looks, she wrinkles her, forehead and, as if she's trying to like listen, like trying to catch what you said, and not really understanding.
John is going to cast a spell, I think, because Prime gives him this understanding of magic and other awakened. So, and I would like to also spend a willpower to turn it into a praxis.
Okay, so
I'm going to cast Supernal Vision.
Okay, so that would be a prime knowing spell. So in terms of what John is trying to do, what is John, John is trying to learn sort of the truth of Samara, right? And
Yeah,
sort
so-
of the
so
truth
the
of the
Margot-
magic that might be in her.
Yeah, well, John is kind of opening his senses to like specifically the kind of the magical around him.
Mhm.
And it's kind of like relaxing the tension of his own pattern, so that light can kind of shine through. Where a hull is a solid, kind of concrete thing. It's relaxing it, and it's kind of self-centered, as it were. So he's opening his own senses so that he can then look at the world and see that light coming through all the kind of the dross and all of the mess and resonance of the living world.
Mhm. Okay. Go ahead and cast your spell.
Sure.
I assume you are, spending the reach to cast instant instead of standing there for 3 hours.
Yeah, not going to stand there for 3 hours staring. Yeah, and yeah, just going to do it on self, so that's no paradox. And I've turned it into a oh, it doesn't have an option to say it's a praxis. Okay, never mind. I'll just add my mana back in afterwards. And I'm going to spend a willpower on it.
Didn't you already take a praxis, or was that something else?
Somebody
I
else
think that
did.
was me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that
I
was
also
me
took a
taking
practice
divination.
too.
Oh my bad.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I took soup praxis.
Was there any paradox, or...
No paradox. It was just the one reach for an instant cast
Okay.
on myself.
Sounds good.
And
You
yep, that's 2
potency
successes.
1. What question do you ask? What do you... As you open up your... you cast the spell, and you sort of... I imagine Hall's sort of senses opening up, and sort of becoming more in tune with the numinous truth around, and the sort of feel, scent, sound, smell of magic. And there's a lot of information there, but Hall only has sort of, the power in this spell to sort of allow his senses to pick out the information that'll let him answer one question from, this panoply of sense data. So
Yeah,
what
so
is he trying to figure out?
Well, first of all, it's I mean, John is thinking of this person as, oh, this is a seer who is, more experienced than ourselves. So like the spell first of all tells you
Right.
whether they're connected to the supernal, like as a base. So if
Okay.
they're a mage, a sleepwalker, etc., etc.
Um,
And in the same instance, he would probably be asking like, what is their gnosis? He
Okay.
probably wouldn't think of it as gnosis, but thinking about it in terms of like
Yeah.
how
much do they
How
know?
experienced are they? Yeah, that kind of thing.
So what John gets is that so John, looks for this sort of... I imagine that John experiences this in the experiences their own connection to the supernal almost as this smell of something wholesome, this pleasurable feeling that is almost elevating, like the sensation of rising, of air, like the air moving across one's skin as one ascends. The smell
There's a
of
crispness and the clarity. Yeah, I like that.
He doesn't smell any of that in Samara, or hear any of that ringing of sound through the open mountain air, or anything like that. And in fact, he smells something a little bit dissonant, or hears something a bit dissonant, that indicates that not only is she not connected to the supernal, but there's a bit inside of her of unreason and unknowledge, unexperience. And the answer to their question, the Samara's gnosis is 0.
Dun, dun,
So
dun.
she's not even a sleepwalker.
So-
She's
No,
sleepers.
She is a sleeper.
But
John
the
looks very
shame.
crestfallen.
A shame.
Okay. So she wasn't born yesterday, so she sees that there's this change in John as he's doing something. Something's going on inside his head, and then he looks disappointed. Possibly even disappointed in her direction, unless John's sort of making an active effort to conceal it. John's composure is high enough that I'll say that if John was trying to make an effort, then you just keep a straight face and don't give anything away. But
I think because I think John was actually closing his eyes with this, in order to kind of like let all of this, material dross fall away in order to see sort of truth. So John has just kind of sat there and is holding that piece of hull that he picked up using as a yantra, and kind of, seemed to kind of take a deep breath and, eyes still closed, just kind of gone, ugh, and then kind of slumped down. So looks a little bit strange, but doesn't seem to be aimed at her.
Okay. So all of you sort of you feel your peripheral mage sight catch or react to something coming from the direction of John. Obviously, as he casts a spell, you sort of smell, hear, feel John doing something in whatever way it manifests in your sight. And then you notice this disappointed. Dalian, what are you saying or doing? It's clear that John is trying to, get some secrets out of Samara or, learn how she does her working. Is this something that Dalian is supportive of and would try to help, or is that, none of John's business?
Since he doesn't know exactly what he's doing, he's gonna reserve any any judgment for now. Just waiting to see what Samaras will say, basically.
Okay.
In
So
terms of experience, in terms of like piracy and things, I mean, Pascal, we've kind of established is the more experienced, right? Like, is he more thinking, like, is Pascal interested in this kind of are you a wizard stuff, or is he more interested about what we're going to get in terms of the English and information on them?
That second part's at the back of his mind, but Pascal would, is still, the nosy type, as we showed earlier. So he'd probably start thinking more about like the "Are you a wizard?" stuff with this conversation, and especially if I didn't catch the exact reaction. Did you say that John looks like visibly disappointed? Or no?
Looks like kind of crestfallen, but not necessarily in her direction. But I think Pascal would have picked up on her, like, not recognizing the high speech that we can all feel is.
And then combined with the crestfallen stuff, that would probably switch Pascal's mind to be more like, what's happening here then?
Yeah. Okay. So when John pulls out this sort of piece of hull, I imagine that it's somewhat round, a little bit rough, and John's holding it in front of him, almost, I don't know, like a bowl or mirror. And obviously you're trying to do something, so Samara's curiosity is piqued, and she starts to ask a pointed question about what it is you're doing. What is this piece of wood, and how does it relate to your relationship with the spirits?
John is. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, John is kind of a little bit disappointed, and had kind of been hyping this person up as, oh, here we get to meet an actual wizard kind of thing, an actual experienced seer. So John is maybe a little bit reluctant, but I mean, is always eager to talk about this stuff. So, yeah, John starts speaking about how, well, this piece of hull is I mean, it's like an extension of him. It's sort of a a reflection of himself, and how he's kind of drawing on that to work work magic on himself, and is
Yeah.
kind of trying to feel out how to explain this stuff to somebody who isn't a seer.
Yeah, so I imagine that. So part of the experience of using a yantra isn't necessarily the object in itself, but it's about sort of how the object allows you to form the imago. It's about sort of how it helps you to focus your will. And
The
is an
symbolism, yeah.
aspect of it. Yeah, it allows you to focus your will through the semiotics of it related to what you're trying to do. And this aspect of focusing via concentration on your ritual tools seems to be something that she's nodding along with. Yes, that is in fact how that's how you help to concentrate, mnemonics and all that. Do you talk at all about sort of about spirits as you understand them?
Yeah.
Because she's
I
using
think,
this word clearly to talk about entities that exist in the world that are unseen, and that maps up with what you've seen of spirits, capital S, right?
yeah, and I think John would, be at first kind of tentatively explaining, but as it becomes clear that this isn't just complete gobbledygook to her, then he's going to kind of lean in a bit more, and is glad to talk to somebody about this. As glad as he is to talk about with any of the cabal, is kind of as there are these, the world is alive. The world has these reflections, and they can travel sort of through things, and they it kind of stumbling a little bit because he doesn't have the terminology, so is probably like latching on to some of the terminology that she uses.
Yeah. So at a certain point, it's starting to get towards dusk, and Samara invites you inside as you're having this conversation. But a lot of what you say, doesn't match up with what she thinks of as spirits. As you have this conversation, it's very clear that she thinks of spirits as the ghosts of the dead, as well as other sort of creatures that sort of independently exist in the world, oftentimes malicious. She calls them doopies. But when you start to talk about resonance is pretty central to your understanding of these spirits. Of making conditions right for them to live and appear. She this is something that
Kind of
she
the gauntlet,
really
the divide
engages with.
between worlds and stuff.
Yeah. But in terms of you walk inside to her tent, and you can see sort of that there are definitely ritual implements about, and a ritual space, which is a place of working in the middle of the dirt and sand in the middle of it. It's clearly a space that has been prepared in a certain way, and so this notion that in order for spirits or doopies to appear and answer to you, it requires you to create the right conditions. That makes all the sense in the world to her, because that's how she also has this relationship with spirits. But in the course of the conversation, I don't you all have or John doesn't have any dots in occult, but some of you others do would maybe recognize what a doopy is, especially Dalian. Actually, I think none of you except for Dalian have dots in occult, so never mind.
Oh yeah, baby mages.
Oh,
So she does let slip, however, that I wish that our relationship with the doopies these days was better, given how much trouble they have brought to us and how many more of them there are as a result of the deaths. And I think she says this last part pretty bluntly.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's where John is kind of gets pulled back to what they're actually there for, and kind of I think John is kind of explaining that, you know, they're what they've seen, what they saw in Talon's tent, and you know, kind of invites the others as well to kind of broach this subject of what they can do to help, and kind of what the situation is now, first of all.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So she's happy to give sort of a summary. Whereas Dalian's father was a little too sick to give a full explanation. In the month that Dalian has left, at least a dozen of the maroons have died in various means, which is a large proportion. There aren't that many of them.
Wow.
And this has been a big blow. Some of them were killed in skirmishes with the English while out either hunting or attempting to, steal supplies from them or sabotage their boats. Others fell victim to accidents sort of in the jungle. And last but certainly not least, about half of them have sort of succumbed to this mysterious illness that seems to have afflicted Dalian's father. The symptoms seem to be a general just sort of wasting away. Rashes on the skin. Generalized weakness and foul. She probably doesn't say humors, but just sort of general bodily imbalance. Gastrointestinal distress. Lack of appetite. And it doesn't seem to have any rhyme or reason for who it has struck. It's struck down as many people who were young and hale as the more infirm, who one might expect to be more vulnerable to such a disease. But on this last point, or on the point talking about these 12 people so far who have died, she said she says that for those who perished while out in the jungle in danger, or were killed by the English, she worries greatly about them, because every person contains two spirits within them. Their higher spirit that goes up to join Dieu in heaven and be judged, and the earthly spirit that remains here. And if a body is not buried within their coffin adequately securely, that for 3 days after their death, that earthly spirit may escape and become a doopy and come back to wreak its wrath. And for those who died out in the jungle or by the brutish English, it's very unlikely that they were given proper burial, and so their doopies may still roam the island. She says she hasn't yet attempted to exorcise or contact any of them yet, because she is she worries about the number of them, but it's reaching the point where she feels she has to do something to try to placate them, because she assumes that they are responsible for this illness.
Dalian is gonna meekly say, well, when I was in town with my father, John, was it John? I don't remember if it was John or Pascal. No, it was John.
Okay.
John. Should we sense something like a sort of pig boar, maybe, or wild things lurking
The
around?
resonance of pig, yeah, and Dalian saw that himself as well.
Yeah, I saw it myself with his help. Doesn't sound like. I don't know exactly what it is, but it doesn't exactly make sense to sense something like that here.
Could it be something from the doopy, or have the English kind of given you pork, or how would that have gotten here?
She's sort of thrown for a loop at this, and she says, we don't keep pigs. I think the English have pigs in their settlements, but not many. They have more chickens and cows. I think most of what they have is salted and imported in terms of pork. We haven't pig. And she sort of, thinks it over for a little bit and then, dismisses it. And actually, she probably asks you, more pointedly, like, what do you mean, pig? Like, did you smell salted pork while you were in the tent, or did you find, pork in his
like
bags, or?
It's hard to say, like a sense something.
And John's going to lean on resonance. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's how he understands it. There was pig there at some point, and it's lingering. I mean, does Samara kind of understand sort of, the kind of the occult notion of contagion?
I mean, she doesn't know it as that, but if you, explained, that concept to her, she probably would understand what you mean. So
Kind of
in terms of,
association.
yeah, so when you think, or when you've been talking about resonance, how Samara seems to be understanding it is, sort of in terms of actual, physical materials to prepare the space in order to create sort of a resonance which is open to, an angry doopy. You prepare the space with rum in order to, draw them because they like rum, and maybe you leave, sort of other offerings that will appeal to them in, physical form, and this is what prepares the space. The concept of sort of this more ephemeral sort of resonance isn't sort of where her head is going. But, if you explain the concept of contagion to her, she's, open to, learning and understanding it.
yeah.
Like
Dalian
the
is.
thing was the thing.
Yeah, Dalian doesn't seem sure himself because it doesn't really merge with meshes with his idea of spirits, and so that sort of things work. And that was the first time he had any sort of concrete grasp on resonance or ephemeral resonance. So he's just trying to nod along to John or Kesson or anyone with more spirit than him.
Okay. Yeah, so she doesn't quite know what to make of, pork. If, your immediate implication might be that, the pork was diseased, and, people who have eaten pork taken from the English settlement might have gotten sick from that, and she sort of starts to consider it and try to think over whether she's seen anyone, take back any supplies like salted pork or something from the English, but she can't really match up the people who have gotten sick with that sort of thing.
Okay.
And after a certain amount of, chatting and discussion, she says, okay, this is enough. There's only so much that talking will do. I have been, idle for too long, and we must attempt to speak with the spirits to understand why the doopies are causing, this illness to descend upon us, whether punishing us for taking, pork from the English, or for just the malevolence of their rage. I will prepare the space. It is approaching dusk, so it is the time when the doopies can enter into our encampment. And she, starts to gather her materials, and while she is doing that, I am going to go to the restroom. I'll be back in 3 to 5 minutes.
Okay.
Time to start planning.
Dang, I'm trying to figure out how to segue this into investing in Spirit 1. But I didn't want to, slow down too of it. I did get, presumably, I've been there for the big explanation about resonance and all that, so I guess now to put that into practice, and then, immediately spend the 5 XP, spend a mana, spirit sight,
Why 5?
5, isn't that what it costs?
No, it's 4.
It's 4, wow. I'll have an extra one, discount.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're Mastigos, right? So your inferior is matter. So yeah, you can get it. You can get up to Spirit 4 with just 4 XP.
And even then, you could get matter with 4. It's just that
Well, I gotta
past
have a
2
tutor
dots.
for the inferior.
Yeah, you can only go to 2 dots. After that, you need to find someone with 3 dots and pay 5.
I could honestly see Pascal maybe picking up matter later, but for now,
Matter later.
It's tempting. It's tempting.
internally he'd still probably be trying to wrestle with like what is the idea of like resonance or whatever, because that's like such a, you know,
Yeah. I mean,
nondescript
as a
word.
Mastigos, you're probably thinking of it,
Yeah,
you
like
know,
as like
in a similar way to like the
the
splintering of all things.
yeah, and how like, you know, like the reflections, like the in a mind sense, you know. Like, ooh, sometimes I see people's thoughts like individual things flitting about them. Is this like that, you know?
Yeah, it's the thought of things. But like, if you want to like, because what I'm going to suggest is that John's like be taking a magical hand in this, because what I think is happening is that Samara is going to be using, you know, mortal interaction with spirits, so she's going to start building up that resonance in order to, you know, speak to the spirits and whatnot.
Back.
John might have a little hand in that, but like if Pascal wanted to like get into like a teamwork cast, because you can still teamwork cast even if you don't know the Arcana.
Hmm.
But, like being part of the Imago there, maybe that would be cool.
Yeah, it counts as sort of an environmental bonus just for, you know, this being, you know, assisting with the ritual space.
That makes me wonder about a mage whose dedicated tool is like, you know, ritual helpers. Wonder what that would look like.
Oh, that would be neat. Yeah,
Cool.
it's basically
Okay.
Techne.
Yeah. All right, I'm back. Dusk is indeed coming. The sun is setting. The sky is becoming ruddy and red. The forest birds are quieting down as they, you know, start to return to their nests for the night. And Samara gathers her materials. She has with her in her hand immediately a bottle of rum and, you know, a basket containing various other effects. She starts in the center of the ritual space and lights some incense. She fills her mouth with the rum and then spits out a cloud of it, first towards the north, then turns towards the east, and then you know, spits out towards the south, towards the west, in all the 4 cardinal directions, blowing rum out of her mouth. And she says this is to attract, you know, the spirits who love rum, and also goad them to appear. She lays out, or, you know, in the space around her, a number of small, what look to be mementos or items. A small carving, which looks to be in the shape of a, you know, a little panther. A, you know, piece of, you know, what looks to be a child's clothing. A few other effects of that nature. And she says that these are items which belonged to the last man who was lost out in the jungle, or to the British during an incursion, who never came back. It has been at least a week since you know, he left and returned, or failed to return. So if his, or at least 2 weeks rather. So if he has died, surely his dupi is out there and remembers the way to return to his home. She, you know, starts to tell what sounds like a story for those who, you know, have the language to understand her, about, you know, a great hunter who left his, you know, home in search of, you know, a skin for his beloved, and undergoes a number of trials. And she tells it in sort of this lilting, not sing song, but this like very tonally, you know, regulated voice, in very sort of regular, enunciated, strong cadence. And what are the rest of you doing as she does this?
Dalian is absolutely assisting her. He's not very proficient, but he has studied under her, so
like handing her materials and, you know,
yes,
making preparations as she needs them, etc., etc. Okay.
absolutely.
Anything from the rest of you?
Pascal would just be like taking note of everything that's going into this, you know.
Mhm.
It can John see anything in spirit sight? Like, are there? Because he has spirit too, so he can kind of see any spirits moving around in twilight. Is anything happening there with spirits?
Okay. So John is watching in Twilight, or John is watching Spirit Twilight, and so are you spending the mana for that, or is that just a thing
Um,
that?
not
It's full
not s-
power.
not spending the mana to interact. Just want to see
Okay.
if
Yeah,
there's any
yeah, yeah,
spirits
you're right.
around.
So I mean, there are a few spirits around in Twilight, but they seem sort of unrelated to the proceedings. You see, fire spirits around the campfire outside, and canvas spirits, and you know, guard herb spirits, who are feeding on their chosen resonances.
Buzzing around, yeah.
But as you watch her, you do strength of the local gauntlet, nature of the resonance condition, and other sources of essence. You definitely notice that the resonance of the place you're in is changing as she does this. It is becoming resonant towards memory. As she stands, she makes this story recounting the deeds of someone in the past, and she has these tokens of a life from the past around her. The resonance becomes aligned with something like memory, and remembrance. And he doesn't see any spirits that are sort of being drawn towards this resonance. But at a certain point, after she has told her story, actually I don't know if you can. I'll just give it to you if you're using active mage sight. This place has the open condition, but not to a sort of resonance that you recognize. It has this sort of
Uh-huh.
very particular memory resonance. And you've never seen a memory spirit before. You've seen emotional spirits before, that key to particular human emotions, but not memory. And eventually, you all have sort of this I don't know, this visual hallucination or this feeling of brushing across your skin, or coral appearing in your sight, as your peripheral mage sight catches an effect. And to John, with his keen periphery, you have this understanding of the effect as matching with death, which is the first time that John's probably experienced that. And as all of you watch, this figure almost sort of appears as walking through, materializes in the act of walking through the flap of the tent. A young, dark-skinned man, but rendered sort of, almost pale and, limned slightly with light, with sort of eyes wide open, mouth open in a scream, sort of eyes also limned with light, fingers long and outstretched, and speaking with a voice awash of agony, just laments, or begs, not, don't kill me, God, it hurts. Babbling almost before you, as Samara stands her ground before this creature, this Doopy, and commands him to know her authority and tell her how his host died. And as the this creature, this pale, dark-skinned humanoid yet slightly disproportionate figure looks over you, his mouth opens and emits one last pain scream before his sobbing stops, and he opens his mouth to take a breath which doesn't draw in air. And I think that's what we'll end it for the day.
Holy shit.
Nice.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. Cool. So everyone can take an arcane beat for seeing some, you know, mortal ritual or occult ritual shit, and also another one for seeing a ghost. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, no, I got, I guessed.
Okay, cool. So, for everyone watching, thanks for watching. We're gonna end the stream now. We'll see you in 2 weeks, and we're gonna do boring things like aspiration and obsessions. Take care.